Joseph, hey, congratulations on your new horror film, Ick.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know what? I had so much fun with this film, and I know you've been making the film festival circuit for quite some time for this film, but we have to ask that obligatory question: where the original idea came from for Ick?
I wanted to make a creature feature. That's a very rare genre, and because Hollywood seems to have stopped making these things, and especially new original ones. But specifically a creature feature that the entire family could see. And I don't know when the last one of these. I mean, obviously they make the big dinosaur movies and they make the big King Kong movies where they're busting down entire cities. But I wanted something more contained, something more relatable. So the entire idea was to make kind of this throwback Amblin movies or the sort of video box movies from the 80s that isn't scarring. Like I feel like when it comes to the horror landscape for kids, you know, either they're watching something that's just really kind of a spectacle piece or they have to watch like really adult fare, whether it's Terrifier or a Final Destination movie where people are getting their hands chopped off and spliced in slasher films. These things were never meant for young people. They're always the genre for older people. But yet we kind of like feed this back into it. And I'm like, let's make a scary movie that the entire family can watch. And that's where it came from. I wanted to make my version of a monster movie for today.
It's actually kind of funny because you just mentioned that you believe this film is like made for kids. I mean, what elements of horror is classified to be, for a fam to be a family friendly movie?
Well, look, when I was a kid, even when I was in elementary school, I used to like look at books of like Frankenstein and the Blob and Godzilla and King Kong and Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they were scary, but they weren't so scary that I had nightmares. Somehow they found that tone where it was creepy and thrilling, but it wasn't something that would change your mind and make you want to kill people or something like that. So the first rule book on it was that I was going to keep whatever I did, I was going to make it PG-13. There's no blood or guts in this thing. I mean, there
Hmm.
people explode into goo, so that's my sidestep on that. And then the second thing is the tone. The tone isn't meant to be completely serious. It's a satire, so there's a lot of humor in there. Some of the humor only registers for the older millennials, and some of the humor is more global. But that's what it comes down to. We're making a little monster movie, so it's the fun of ick. Kids chase each other pretending they have the ick. Then I've done my job.
How did you balance that tone between comedy and horror into a film like this to keep up with the pacing?
It's aggressively more comedic than it is horror, to be honest with you. It's more situational. I care more about the things people say to each other. And ultimately, I feel like when you watch horror movies today, I think the horror movies today are actually imbalanced. My balance is heading back to a more traditional sense that it's about the thrills. Because when you go into film festivals, and I've seen this in many film festivals, they get this bloodlust where they watch these movies and they're cheering every time someone gets killed. And I'm like, well, that's not the point of these movies, is it? That we're cheering people dying? So I wanted to make a movie where you're cheering for them to live.
Well, I mean, granted, you have hundreds of cast members get with so many creative kills. I mean, that is hard to keep up, especially for a director like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the audience expectation that I got to deliver the goods. So if there's a film called Ick where the Ick attacks, I got to get creative with it, and I've got to find different ways to shock you. Hopefully, in not the most disturbing way. Some of them were like more thrilling, where the camera goes, where it happens, what side of the screen does it happen, where does the sound happen. I think when you watch this in a movie theater, you're gonna get a thrill ride. It's like a roller coaster ride with the Ick just coming from all angles.
Now, with a lot of horror directors, they always try to debate between, practical and CGI effects. And in this case, obviously, you can't hire an ick for your film. But tell us about your process of using, CGI effects throughout from start to finish in a film like this.
Well, clearly you can't develop something like the Ick, which is a creature that moves really fast and expands around a thing using traditional methods. Even when you look at like the old Blob movie, they're not able to do it. They don't even show it. So I wanted to do a movie where you could actually see this stuff. But at the same time, once it affects somebody, that's all real prosthetics. Once it gets on someone's skin, we just as much as we had a ton of CGI in this film, we had a ton of practical effects and actors going through makeup for 3 hours a day, and that was extensive through the entire movie. So it's a nice blend of both. And more importantly, I think having said that we are absolutely going to have to make the ick in CG, the flip side is that it's not happening in a fake world. It's happening on real sets. We shot this in real locations. It's a real football field. It's a real high school. It's real bedrooms, real hallways. So yes, our creature is CG, but the sort of criticism people make about these CG movies is yes, they're CG because everything is CG. They step out into New York. That's not New York. That's ILM making New York. In my movie, they step outside. That's really a small town. Eastbrook is not a backlot. That's a real small town. So I think there's an added sense of realism to our fantasy creature showing up because at least it's happening in the real world.
Now, you played an excellent homage, and you mentioned a couple of times in this interview of the Blob. I mean, it's been 30, I want to say 37, 38 years since I watched the remake of the Blob, and before that it was another 30 years. You would figure that we would just remake it every 30 years, but tell us about the love of the Blob to you, because it is truly, I could tell, truly inspired by that.
Yeah, the Blob and also the Thing, and also Vampire. It's if you watch Ick, it's got like it's a fusion of multiple different creatures. It's almost got the superpowers of a vampire in terms of only appearing at night and then being afraid of the sun. It's got the Blob because it's a amorphous creature that moves around, but then it's also got a zombie element because it goes into people's bodies and overtakes there. And then there's the Thing because it seems to have sentience too. So it's a bit of that. But in terms of the Blob specifically. I always loved the Blob. I think the reason why people have never remade it because it's slow. And it's the type of creature that I think a lot of executives and producers don't know what to do because it's not a creature that moves very fast. So it's all about the anticipation of this particular creature. I cheated. My creature moves very fast, so it's not the Blob, but it still has that element that it should not touch you because it'll absorb you.
That is true. There's a big difference between running away from the blob because you would imagine you could outrun that, but you can't run away from ick. That's
No,
for sure.
it chases you, and that's a pretty scary thought. Imagine if the blob could actually chase you. Well, there's Ick.
Now, your lead characters, Brandon and Malina, can you talk about them, developing the chemistry and that debate between, father, daughter, possibly throughout the entire movie? Because their chemistry and their comedic, essence and personalities is terrific in this film.
It really is the secret sauce to the movie, their particular relationship, and that's what the movie is really about. The Ick and all the hijinks that happen around it are kind of an impediment to what's really happening is that you see these two strangers connect over family bonds. And ultimately, I don't really answer that by the end of the movie because I don't think it's actually an important question. If she is his daughter, if she isn't his daughter, what does that really matter? If you feel like a father to someone, like the genetic part of it is kind of irrelevant after a point. If you feel like your father and you're raising as the father and you're acting like a father, you're the father, okay? So, I think that was one takeaway. I didn't want to like just sort of co-sign, hey, happy ending. Of course there is. I don't think the answer is specific, but in terms of the actual construction of the relationship, that was all about those actors, about just two people with incredible naturalistic style, especially Malina. That girl, one of the things actually I feared about casting her is that she seems so much older than 18, which she actually was at the time, because she is this New Yorker girl and she's got this world weary knowingness. Like she's like a 40-year-old woman that got plopped into an 18-year-old body. And I was like, oh, are people going to sort of relate to her as a teenager because she comes off so much older than she is? But no, she went in there and she acted it, and it was naturalistic. And one of the most amazing things about the way she approached comedy was that she did not play it funny. She just played it straight. She made us
Mhm.
believe in the situation, and I thought that was a fantastic way to approach that character and the movie. And it became like kind of the standard way of approaching these scenes. Play them seriously, let the lines and let the situations and the context of it be funny, but believe in the world. And that's what she contributed to the film and set the tone.
Well said. Well said. Well, let me wrap it up with one last question because Joseph, you are such a renowned music video director, and you could have all the choices of music to be putting into this film. How do you choose the music into a film like this, coming with your background?
Well, it's story oriented first. It's telling the story of a millennial who listens to a soundtrack that a mixtape that he made for his girlfriend and still listens to it 20 plus years later because he's still pining over. So what was really hot 20 years ago? Pop punk. It's really funny because pop punk, it was the dominant music industry music of the time. And then now 20 years later, it's not really played on radio anymore. You don't really drive up to a car and randomly hear Sum 41 blasting from a radio anymore. But so I made that conscious decision. I was like, okay, that is a weird combo. Pop punk plus monster movie. I've never seen that done before. And because I've never seen it done before, it excited me. I was like, how does that play? How does pop punk dropping it in the middle of all these, scary scenes? What is this movie? And I just went for it. It was an experiment, and I really didn't know how that would actually play until I edited it together, and it came out hilarious.
You know what? It perfectly played all together really well. Joseph, thank you very much for speaking out about Ick to us. It is such an enjoyable film, and you're right, it is a family horror film. Family's going to enjoy this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.